webinars we have given, and you can get free certificates, and you're welcome to invite anybody. And it is certified, it is from American TESOL. So today we're going to talk about reading on mobile devices, and if you join us next week, I'll be in Slovenia, and then we'll talk about video tools. Now you may find it very difficult to read on a mobile device, because I did. I actually took my master's online, and I struggled with learning how to read on a mobile device because it's a lot different. All my books were actually ebooks, so I had to get used to it. Now, it wasn't the kind of ebooks that I'm going to show you today. So I actually had to have the old ebooks. But that's okay if you have black and white text and something like reading on a Kindle. But it's definitely something good to get used to. And there are a few reasons why. Because ebooks are very good for English language learners. A lot of times the books can help English language learners in ways that regular books just cannot do because of all the technology. Now, the great thing is that a lot of ebooks, if you decide to start teaching with online ebooks, then your students can have it offline. So once you download it, you don't need an internet connection. So that's the great part of it. And another thing that's really helpful with ebooks is a lot of times it's hard to engage our students, but the Digital Chef just came out with studies that researchers did that showed that boys valued reading more when they read online. So for our students, even if it's difficult for us, reading on a mobile device is very motivating for students. It gets them to read more, and I'm for anything that gets students to read more. Now, there are a lot of features on mobile devices that help readers. For example, when you're reading online, you can highlight a word in the text. Your students, your language learners can, if they don't understand the word. A lot of ebooks will show a dictionary, or they'll take them to Wikipedia. They'll let them highlight sentences. They'll let them see, if it's a collaborative book, they can see what other people wrote about the chapter. Have these kind of things for popular books. So for example, when I was reading a classic, I would look at the notes that the rest of the community would write about the actual book. So you're able to highlight, a lot of times it'll, especially with young learner books, I'm going to show you some really great ones. They're very visual. They have multimedia experiences. The students can play tasks and games within the book. They can often upload their own pictures, drawings. So it's very interactive for kids. It gets them to do things while they're reading. There's read aloud functions. There's pronunciation and spelling for young learners. So there's so many different things that ebooks have for language learners. It really benefits them. So if you're looking, you can download the Kindle app. That's one of the apps I have that I read ebooks from. I also have the iTunes Store, and that's a really good place as well to download if you can, if you have an iOS. The Blio is also great for iOS. These are libraries. So now I'm going to show you library, some apps that are a library of books where you can find lots and lots of free books for your students. But a lot of times you can, the Blio app, what makes it really great, opposed to the other ones that you probably have seen, is that it actually puts the book in color. So you can see it here, how the pages are in color. It makes it exactly like the book would be if you were reading it. So that could be much easier for students to be able to adjust to than versus just complete text. Now they have that option as well. The other thing that it does is it zooms in on a passage, so it makes it bigger for your readers to just concentrate on that. And the great thing about that is because cognitively, if we look at a whole bunch of text, it's really difficult for our learners to digest all of that as language learners. So if it zooms in, then that's just a chunk of language that they're actually reading and processing at the same time. The other really great thing that it does is it has multiple views. They can look at 2 pages, 1 page. They can do a flowed view, fast reading, so if they want to see their timing. They can add notes. They can highlight in 5 colors. They can look up phrases or topics. And it also reads words to them aloud, so that way they can hear it pronounced. One of the best kind of libraries for young learners, and it's free, and it is on your iPod, iPad. And I think they might have an Android version, but I'm not sure. Is MeGenius. MeGenius is great for language learners, especially young learners. So any type of kid will enjoy these. They have great books for story time. They have where the student can swipe pages. They're very colorful. They're great art. Great art. They can read it themselves, or they can have it read to them. And a lot of times they'll display the text as well. And so when we're thinking about reading material on mobile devices, think about when you're choosing books. Try to think outside the box, because now with the mobile device, there's so many great, wonderful books that they have created that are very interactive. So they get the students to interact with language. So sometimes you want to teach with these boring, like just text, black and white text, but rethink it. I'll show you a few options. They're really great for language learners. Here's one for young learners. This is The Wizard of Oz. Now it's interactive. You can see things move in it. It's very colorful. It does have advanced language. It has engaging reading experiences. It chunks the language. But the visuals as well. They can play games. They can also have it read to them. So things like that, it has them do tasks, and it's free. It's absolutely free. So like for this one, particular one, you can see a video of the actual house moving, and you can hear it move. So it's really quite a wonderful experience for students. They'll really enjoy it. Comics. A comic can have elevated language. You can do the Marvel Comics app. That's on Android as well. And the great thing about this particular one is it has lots of comics. You will find some you have to pay for, but a lot of them are free. So the students, they really like reading comic books, and they look really great on different types of tablets and mobile devices, and they're very colorful. And a lot of times they'll have the same features where they can look up words and pronunciation and stuff. The other thing is, if you're reading a novel, a lot of times they've made into graphic novels. For example, Twilight. So a lot of teachers of teenagers are teaching Twilight right now in the classroom. There's a version, the light one, you can check it out even now. It's free. Now, it doesn't do much except just it gives it visuals, so it makes it kind of colorful. But still, for language learners, having that visual element with a lot of text is really quite good for them. It helps them understand the text more. So a lot of times, if whatever book that you're going to teach, see if you can get it on a mobile device, and see if you can get the graphic version. Especially if you have language learners or readers, low-level readers, because the visuals will really help them, and it's the same language. It also chunks it, so it makes it easier for language learners. There are a few different apps that engage students. So they also offer a library of books, but they also allow students to create their own books. So I'll show you a few of those. This is the storypanda.com app. If you go to storypanda.com, I believe it's on Android and iOS as well. But it has tap, swipe, drag to change characters. So you can even change characters within the book. You can put different backgrounds, so you interact with the book as well. Kids can actually take a picture and place themselves in the story that's already pre-written. So that makes it quite a good adventure if the student is in the story, don't you think? So they would really love that. Storybots is another one where the student can be part of the story. So these books are already written by different authors and stuff, and animated, and the student becomes part of it. It has audio, it has animations, and a lot more. But until a bedtime is really great. What it does is basically you read the story, so you read the story out loud, whatever the story is, and then your student has to respond by reading another story to you. So it gets the student to read to you and record an audio with it. But the great thing about it is that studies have shown and research that if students read to somebody else, that it actually increases their reading. So you can have them either do it in pairs where they read to each other and send each other books, and that way you're not the one who has to read like the story. You can have them do different books, and then after the pairs read the stories to each other, then what they can do is they can they can do a presentation or some kind of book report, like a multimedia book trailer or something, sharing the story highlights and stuff. Flying books, that you listen to an expert narrator, or you can read your own. You can record your own story, and you can create another personalized book. There's also what's called interactive fiction, and there are a lot of there are a few language teachers. Oh, I'm sorry, Fenton. Can everybody else hear me? Oh, okay. Sorry, Fenton. It might be your connection. Um, so interactive fiction has become the new thing in ELT. And the reason why is interactive fiction means that it's sort of like choose your own adventure in a way. You get to kind of choose, you interact with the text. Now, it is a lot of text sometimes. And it walks you through things, but it carries a lot of visual language with it, which is good for language learners. And there are a lot of books that you might recognize. So it's great for teenagers. Teenagers are really into this right now. It's sort of like role playing, and then they can interact with the fiction. So the next books I'm going to show you are more for teenagers, or even college students. So keep that in mind. My favorite so far, and one of the best kind of apps there is, that's a full book reading experience. Your teenagers will love you for, and they will love reading after this, is what they'll do is it's experienceanomaly.com. You get the free first chapter. It's a 300-page epic science fantasy story. It's sci-fi. And what it does is it has over 1,500 panels of art. It has different actors that have read. So when you do the read aloud, you hear actors who are different characters and stuff. It's an experience. It's almost like reading Star Wars or something, but being part of it. It's really fantastic. It has over 175 informational points. So the great thing about this is, in a lot of science fiction, they have different types of machines, and they have different types of vehicles. Well, it'll actually show you the vehicles and give you a little bit of science behind it, or even the characters and things like that. So they can stop at any point and they can see this. So it has a lot of information points. So they learn as they read as well. The other great thing is it has an accompanying app. Now this is free because I share free stuff. Is it has augmented reality. So the characters in the story, when you get the augmented reality app that goes with it, that's free, your students can see the character on their desk, like just using their mobile device. So it's really cool, and they can interact with characters, ask them questions and things like that. Your own world, but with, if you look in the lens of your phone, you'll actually see characters project. Thinking about teaching different language learners and stuff, with mobile devices, I think it's really important. I know there's some things we have to teach, but a lot of those you can find online. For example, when I'm working with a learner this year who has autism, and he loves a Diary of a. And so he was able to read it that way. Now, it didn't have all these kind of activities or augmented reality or anything, but it was really nice. He could highlight words, he could look things up, he could see references to things. So even the books that your students love, you can encourage them, if they have a mobile device, to find it online. It had games to go with it. So when you're looking at all this stuff, the books that you want, go ahead and you can have them look at it. Another really great app. So now I'm sharing different apps to interact with as well. And one of them I know I've shown a million times is StoryKit. It's from the International Children's Library, and one of the reasons I like it is because students really can just go on there, and they can read. If you went to an antique bookstore, and if you looked on the shelf and you found the Three Little Pigs or Humpty Dumpty and you took it off the shelf, well, basically that's what the International Children's Library did. They scanned the pages of all these classic books, they put them in this app, and students can now legally rip them up and kind of create their own story with it. So they can add audio, they can pretend to be the characters themselves. So you can get different students that read one book, and then each of them chooses to be. But the great thing about this app is it gets them to interact with books that are on the shelf. And that's what I really love, because a lot of times we think with technology that we have to get rid of the old, but basically we can use a mobile device to get students really excited about reading again, because a lot of times um, they're just bored to death with reading. So this is what it looks like. It gives you a personal link, and so anybody who has the link can read it. So it makes it private, because only if you give them the link can they read it. They can upload their own pictures, they can doodle and draw, they can add different types of audio in it. So this is something that Gabi, Cecilia Lemo's daughter, did for me using the StoryKit app. So it's a great learning experience for students, and it's free, so that's even more wonderful. So a few tips when you are working with mobile devices. So we talked about the type of reading material that you have for learners, depending on their age group, depending on their level, depending on the language. And then also try to ask them what their interests are. What books are they reading now? And maybe you can use one of those books to get them motivated to read, because that's the important part. Give them time to read alone for leisure. So when they walk in the classroom, take about 5 minutes. A lot of times I have different types of pillows for the students. So when they walk in, I say, okay, grab a pillow, go anywhere in the classroom, and then you can sit and you can just read whatever the material is. The great thing about that is reading is it needs to be a personal experience too. If we get them reading comfortably and we just allow them to read, then we can help them make it a habit, because a lot of times they go at home and they have video games and all these distractions, so they haven't really developed the interest for reading. So I think it's really important we can take them outside on a really nice day and we can let them read. And that's one of the things that I do with my students as well. I'll take them outside, whether it's the textbook, and I give them a choice. I say, okay, you can choose any magazine, you can choose anything in the text to read, as long as you go and you take a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, and you just read. And if you give them a choice, then they'll read, because a lot of times teachers say, well, what if they don't read? What if they mess around? Well, if you let them choose what they're reading, the reading material, then they're more likely to read it. So whether if it's a comic or anything like that, have them read to others. You can have them read to their sisters, their brothers, their parents. I think it's really important. So when they're creating stories, if you have them create responses to it, or even the book that they're reading in class, when they're reading it, have them read it to a friend, get them in pairs, have them read to each other for 5 minutes. A lot of times with my high school students, what we'll do is I'll have them create a children's story, and then we go to a young learners class, like kindergarten and stuff, and then they get into a pairs. They take one of the young learners and then they read the story to them, and they show them the pictures. And so that's what I do with my teenagers or my adults, is I have them read to younger kids, and they love the experience. Another experience is that some of the students now are reading through Skype. So they'll read stories to another class in a different world about their culture and things like that. So that's kind of an exciting thing too, because then the students can do that. Another thing that you can do is with very young learners. Okay, I get them to create picture books like See Spot Run, because I've worked with 2-year-olds all the way to 80 years old, teaching them English around the world. So with my very young learners, usually about 4 and 6, I'll get them to write those very simple, big picture books with lots of visuals and a couple words. And what they do is I have them take their stuffed animals and they read it to their stuffed animals, because reading, as research has shown to somebody else, really helps you develop skills. It really increases your reading, because they have so much fun doing it. So they can take a stuffed animal and read to them. Here's a few mobile reading tasks that you can do with students, okay? So these are some activities in the classroom after they are reading. and well, pre-reading, I'll say during reading, and then after reading, I'll specify. So guess the character. So this would obviously be each student, this would be a after reading task, post reading task. So each student records clues about a character in the story that they're reading. Then they exchange devices and listen to descriptions to guess the character. Now you can help them out with the statements. I like this. My favorite is this, because they're describing themselves. They're being the character. And then so somebody else will listen to it and they'll say, ah, you're the Tin Man in the Wizard of Oz. You're Dorothy. I have red shoes that will take me home. So then they can also capture pictures to add as clues. Like maybe they add with their description, their audio description, red shoes, and then you'd be able to easily guess. Students love to text. They're always texting. So allow them to text by having character chats. Okay, so they have to get into the character. Like, for example, let's say you're doing Romeo and Juliet. Well, one of them can be Romeo, one can be Juliet. And then they text each other. I usually tell them if it's a story in the past and the language is Old English, I have them give me a conversation that will be more modernized, like something they would say today. We do go over keeping it clean, like what kind of language is good to use and things like that. And then I do tell them, okay, so on most of your mobile devices, you can take a screenshot. Usually it's you tap this top button and then you tap the middle button. And it'll take a picture of whatever's on there. So that's how I record the conversation, because if you take screenshots of the chats and you tell them you're going to post this online and stuff, then what you're doing is you're telling them somebody's going to see this. I can show this to your parents, blah, blah, blah. So they keep the language clean. Plus, it gives you an idea of their language level. You can grade it from them. You can actually circle the grammar points that they might have missed. You can, and so it's really good to keep a record of it. So please take screenshots. And then you can discuss. You can post on your Edmodo group, all of these things that are free. You can try Facebook Messenger, Google Chat, Puppet Pals. Basically, any kind of text chat that's free. I know some people use WhatsApp and things like that. The great thing is that if they are on an internet connection, they'll be able to do this. If they're not on an internet connection, they won't. Make sure that they take off, that they have it on airplane mode, because you don't want them to get charged for text or anything like that. So don't use the regular texting feature. Use something like Haywire, Google Chat. I think is really great. It's private as well. So here are some other chat activities as well. A pre-reading one. Now this is called Find It. Well, that's what I call it, but it's a pre-reading. You have students search for music, clothing, setting, etc. So they can do this on Wikipedia really quick. They can do this on different sites of the book. So what they're doing, or they can use the search feature that's in a lot of these ebook apps. That's one of the great things about it, is you're allowed to search for things. So what you want them to do is search for music, clothing, setting, etc. You give them, it's sort of like a scavenger hunt. You give them a list of things they have to find. What was the song played inside? What was something that they eat? What was something that they love to do in their spare time? You have them find these things. After they search for it, and then they can, while they're reading, students can mark in a book what they found and how it gives them a better understanding. Now, the reason why they're searching for it is because a lot of times students will scan the reading and they don't process it. They don't really understand what's going on. But if you have them search for different elements, then they get involved with it. They begin to learn a little about the character, and it becomes personalized for them. Skitch is this fantastic app. Basically, you can take a picture of anything. You can take a picture of the textbook. It makes the text scannable because it's part of Evernote. You can take a photo. You can choose a photo. You can draw on a map. You can start with something blank. You can capture something from the web. And then this is what you can do. Then you can mark it. You can write text notes about it. And that's what you want them to do. So when they're searching on their ebook, then they can take a picture of what they found, and then they can write notes on it. Oh, this music, I listen to music, and how they identify with that particular thing they're searching. So for example, If it's food that the character is eating, let's say it's something that Dorothy ate or something like that. I'm just using the Wizard of Oz as an example. Or like the dog. Oh, Dorothy had a pet Toto. I have a dog named Roscoe. So they're identifying how it compares to their life, and that personalizes the reading for them. They can get involved with the reading. And then post-reading tasks. So students post which items they can relate to in their life. I like escaping to the garden like the main character did. And then they can record these, they can put in animated video, they can put in a presentation, ways that they can use a graphic organizer like Poplet, where they put all the elements, and then on the bottom, the branches, they put links and pictures, but then they also put how it relates to them in their real life. And this is taking the book and it's giving them a connection to their real world experience. Voicethread is absolutely fantastic for reading. So you can get the Voicethread. It's wonderful. It's online. It's a web-based browser, but it's also on your iDevices. And so you can upload different types of things of the books, or even like a discussion questions after the chapter. Have your discussions like this. Don't have them write it down. Have them go on Voicethread, and they can do a voice comment. They can circle and doodle. They can leave a video comment. It makes it more interactive, and the great thing about it is they practice the language. They actually speak it. They can write it as well. But then they interact with their peers, and it's just much better way. When they have to answer discussion questions, they're like, oh my gosh. But if you do it through Voicethread, then they'll be a bit more excited about it. You can have them do student debates instead, where instead of just the discussion questions, make it into a debate, or make it to where they feel about something. How do you feel about Dorothy running, escaping from home? How do you feel about, do you escape from home? Things like that, and they can give their ideas. They can create character timelines with capsules. Capsules is browser-based as well. It's absolutely fantastic. It looks like this. It looks like a timeline. They can upload PDFs. They can upload drawings. They can upload pictures. They can upload Microsoft Word documents, videos, audios, pretty much everything. And so they can do different elements of a character. They can do an in-depth character analysis. Instead of having book reviews, you can have them do book trailers on Animoto. They turn the chapter into a movie scene. Okay, so we're pitching this as a movie. What would be the highlights of the chapter? Make a movie of it. Use Animoto. And basically, we're coming to the end. That's it. You can find a lot of these and a free mobile learning book. If you go to the bit.ly learning links, let me go ahead and add, this is the specific one to this particular webinar on reading and stuff. On there you will also find the slide presentation. So let me go ahead and get that link for you as well. Okay, so it's already on SlideShare. Let me get that link for you. And then let me get the learning links for you too, because that's where you find pretty much all my mobile learning all together, is that bit.ly. And you find free books, not only from me, but from gurus in the field like Jackie Gerstein and Tony Vincent, which are all amazing, amazing, amazing for learning. So let me go ahead and get that for you. And these are free. So if you need any help or anything, if you have any questions, let me know. Don't forget to get your certificate. The March certificates are actually already up there. March to, I think, May. So you can find all of that at this. Have a great, great weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. And I will see